Hey y'all, welcome to Open World Chat. I'm John Odom. I'm here with Mark Card. How you doing, Mark?
I'm doing pretty well. You guys are going to have to excuse my voice. I'm getting a bit of a cold, I think.
Oh, it's only an audio podcast. We don't need voices. It's okay. This is Open World Chat, which I think I already mentioned. Maybe I didn't mention it. Well, that's what it is. If I already mentioned it, it's Open World Chat twice. And today we're going to have some fun and just this is a broad topic, but it's a fun topic. We're going to talk about dumb sci-fi. Not necessarily the low-hanging fruit dumb, but we'll hit some of that too, but just dumb. You know, I mean, there's bad, there's failing, and there's dumb. Well, anyways, we'll show you what you mean, what we mean, and I'm sure you'll understand where we're coming from. What do you think, Mark? You got some
Yeah,
good
and aren't
stuff
you
for
including
us?
some? Aren't you including some fantasy in here too?
I was, there was a fantasy thing I wanted to mention, and I realized it was also kind of sci-fi. So, but yeah, let's say sci-fi and fantasy for sure.
They bleed together.
They do. And the one I want to talk about is definitely a bleeder. But there's a lot of, I could say there's the low hanging fruit. I don't know if we want to go the Mystery Science Theater 3000 route. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's really dumb. I mean, that's like mindless science fiction.
Yeah, that's is that intentionally dumb? Is that fair? I
Yeah,
mean,
I don't know. I think most people go into it thinking what they're doing is going to be good and don't realize how dumb it is. I mean, just look at all the A-list stars that have made some really dumb things.
yeah, yeah, there's some bad ones. One of the one of the like low hanging fruit uh Mystery Science Theater 3000 ones that I always think of, and I know we don't want to spend too much time on these, but just for an honorable mention is Night of the Lepus. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah.
Oh my God, what the hell? And it had like Janet Leigh in it
Yeah.
and DeForest Kelly.
Well, it's interesting. It's kind of funny. You see these A-list science fiction and horror guys that in the prime of their career, they make these great movies. And then just as it gets harder and harder to take roles, they take whatever they can.
Yeah.
And so, you end up with people like, was it Bela Lugosi in Plan 9?
Oh yeah, poor guy. I definitely feel you got to feel bad for Bela Lugosi, especially after the what was the name of the Tim Burton movie that uh
Ed
with all of
Wood.
Ed Wood. Right, right. And there's this moment in Ed Wood where the Bela Lugosi, I forget who was that, Martin Landau? I don't know. He
Yeah,
was
Martin Landau. Yes.
yeah. Is like rolling around with some kind of uh, uh, bad prop that's supposed to look like
Yeah.
tentacles or something like that. I don't know. And then there's this pause moment where he says, I was a real actor. And he, quotes
Yeah.
some of his credentials before going right back into it. And it's actually a little poignant, you know?
Yeah.
It was a strange moment in the movie, but ever since then I have felt really bad for that guy.
Yeah. Yeah. He had it pretty tough. At least toward the end of his life, he definitely did.
Yeah. Talk about getting typecast though.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've got one I want to start with.
Oh, sure, go for it.
And these are intentionally dumb, but also unintentionally dumb. And that's the Pakled in Star Trek.
Oh, oh, yeah, yeah. There was
So, of course, they are portrayed as dumb, but somehow they end up with warp capabilities.
right.
I mean, it's such a contradiction that they're really stupid. They don't know how to operate technology. And I can see that maybe you could convince some people to do some things for you. But after a while, when you're out in the black, as they would say in Firefly, you're gonna have to be smart enough to do some stuff on your own. So maybe I should have issued a spoiler alert because
So,
the
I
pack.
don't think so. Go
Well,
for
I don't
it.
know. The Packlet are there in the they find them on the Cerritos,
Mhm.
with lower decks.
Of course
So
they do. Perfect place for them.
anyway, so yeah, they just didn't think it through. They thought, I guess we'll create this race, this species, and they'll be dumb, but they won't be dumb enough to not be able to travel through space.
Mhm.
And it just doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't work.
Yeah, and this speaks to a problem that Star Trek, well, science fiction, especially television in general, has where we never want the aliens. None of the writers, aliens are always some sort of plot device. Usually the opponent, but we never want to make them three dimensional. I mean, these are
Yeah.
there's no one version of humans, although we can be reductive about that in sci-fi too and make it all sort of white America looking. So maybe I take that back. But it's like Klingons. There is everybody a warrior. You know,
Right.
who's are there scientists? Are there, there's got to be more of a variety and more of, you know,
Plus, I mean, even look at the Ferengi. Does everybody have every relationship that's transactional?
yeah, but interesting. Despite themselves, I mean, when the Ferengi were first introduced, they were supposed to be this ridiculous nemesis. And remember, they had the whips,
Yeah.
and they gave up on that pretty quickly. But we did have a sort of transitional period where you would encounter, daemons, captains of
Yeah.
warships and things. So that hinted to a little diversity in the culture.
Yeah. I always wanted to hear a rule of acquisition as follows: war is expensive, peace is cheap.
Mm.
Because if you're going to follow the rules of acquisition, war is hell on economies.
Mhm.
I mean, you have this myth that, oh, well, war is what props economies up. No, historically, war has destroyed economies a lot more than it has propped them up, even for the people who win the wars.
Like they might have had some rule that had something to do with war. It wasn't that, but I wish I could remember. I don't.
Yeah, so
I don't know my DS9 as well as I should. I admit.
yeah, but boy, I didn't either. I started watching it. It's really great. It's totally different than all the other Star Trek shows,
Yeah,
but I think that's what makes it great.
that's certainly what. Yeah, I mean that's what stands out about it for folks. And I don't want to get too far off in this because we've got
Nope.
all dumb sci-fi to talk about, but I do want to mention that the best sort of head-on addressing of this kind of syndrome that we saw in Star Trek was on the crossover Strange New Worlds and Lower
Yeah.
Decks, where we, have to look right at this idea that, not all Orions are pirates.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's always just how they're presented. They have science vessels. They have to, you know, all
Yeah.
these
Oh, no.
these races have to be different. How did we get off on that? Whoops. Oh well, that's the way it goes. You know, I was thinking about what I considered dumb, right? And I ended up in the 80s. Think of the
Yes.
80s as this time of dumb sci-fi, right? And I looked into it and it's not all, I mean, I'm thinking 80s TV really is what I'm
Yeah.
talking
Yeah.
about.
Especially the TV. Yes.
Yeah. And, there's, I mean, there's your Knight Riders and your Automan. And yes, I said Knight Rider. Sorry, I know it's got a following, but it was dumb. It was
Manimal.
manimal. Remember the powers of Matthew Starr?
Hmm.
Hmm. And I'm sorry, there's a couple I think that are dumb that are going to piss people off.
Yeah, me
I
too.
think Greatest American Hero, stupid. I don't care how
Oh,
popular it was.
terrible show.
Yeah, absolutely terrible. And I list in the dumb list Quantum Leap. Sorry.
Boy, you're going to make a lot of our female fans mad.
Yeah, dumb. But then that was barely sci-fi anyways, but dumb.
That would definitely qualify as fantasy, I think.
Yeah, and then you know what? I looked at the 80s. I wanted to see how dumb it really was before we talked about it, and I forgot there was some good stuff buried in there. A little dated in its presentation, but I mean, you had for every galactic in 1980, there was an alien nation or a Max Headroom or
Yeah,
Robotech. There was some good,
yeah, there
animated.
was some good stuff in the 80s, that's for sure.
Mhm.
Um, I want to talk about something that was kind of transitional between the 70s and the 80s. And oh my God, this is just terrible stuff. Buck Rogers in the 25th century.
Uh, I have kind of a warm spot in my heart for the first season. The second season was,
Well,
it was, oh my God, you can't
it
even.
devolves into classic 70s jiggle TV.
Mm,
And that is what I don't like about it. It's really dumb. The first season is, it's passable, but you get into the super cute, ridiculous, nonsense robot. And then,
Tweaky,
yes,
beady, 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 beady.
exactly. And, that's a dumbed down version of R2D2.
Mm. Voiced
And,
by Mel Blanc, if I'm not mistaken.
yes, it was. It was Mel Blanc. But when you have talent like that, you're available everywhere and anywhere.
Mhm.
Um, but it's just terrible. It's just awful stuff. It's barely science fiction. It's mostly camp.
Mhm.
I can't stand it. I just can't stand it. It's and ironically, you know what part of the problem is?
Mhm.
You know who's
Oh,
partially to blame for this?
for Buck Rogers?
No, for all the dumb, bad science fiction shows we get in the 70s.
You got somebody particular in mind? Do
Yeah,
tell.
George Lucas.
Oh, well, everybody did have to race and get something in there. Now that you say that, I can imagine a sort of process
Hmm.
that, I mean, he blew up the genre for good and ill. You
He
know,
definitely did.
everybody had to get on the board with something and
And do it quickly.
do it quickly. And in the world of TV, that meant hiring a lot of hacks who
Yep.
probably had never seen or cared about a sci-fi anything, book, movie, whatever in their lives.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the classic elevator pitch. Oh, well, let's revive Buck Rogers, but now we're going to have stupid robots, and the girls are going to be gorgeous but stupid and
Mhm.
have no real, ability to affect what goes on in the show.
Mhm.
And, girls, hot girls, and robots, which are stupid, and somewhere, and a ridiculously good-looking male lead.
Mhm.
Oh no, I can just see it. And the, studio heads going, well, what do the other networks have? Oh, it's all stupid. Okay, we'll be stupid too. I hate it.
What's terrible now that you've mentioned it is,
Yeah.
I was pretty young when that came out, and I was the age where things still at the age where things imprint themselves on your brain, whether you like
Yeah.
it or not. Like, growing up with Gilligan's Island, that no matter what, and it just sort of pushes, I don't know what, it's crowding out to make room for keeping that. But that theme song, the Buck Rogers theme song,
Yeah.
that terrible song. Now I remember it. Now you've put it in my head. Damn it.
So yeah, there's a whole slew. Now, as in any medium or any genre, um, most of it's going to be trash anyway.
Mhm.
But the late 70s and early 80s saw some great stuff. I mean, you had V on television.
V, right. V is a good one. There's a good one.
V was terrific.
Mhm.
You had at least the first few seasons or the first season or two of Battlestar Galactica. That
Yeah,
was
which is, that's 70s. Yeah.
that's killer stuff.
Did it last two seasons or was it just the one?
I think it was two. I don't remember. No, actually, I think it was one, and then they tried to bring it back a couple of years later, and
Well,
that didn't
Galactic in
work.
1980. Did you ever watch
Yeah.
any of that?
No, no.
Oh boy,
I was in school and had no TV or limited TV access. So
that was a stinker and a half. That was dumb. It wasn't just bad. I think that particular flavor of the word dumb definitely applied to
yeah,
Galactic in 1980. Should
yeah. So there was some really good stuff which came out of the explosion from Star Wars, but it was pretty few and far between.
yeah
But yeah. So I'm just going to have to blame George Lucas for some of this stuff.
yeah.
All right, what do you got on hand next?
Well, I was doing a lot of thinking about movies that it's not so obvious. Some recent stuff. Did you ever see and this is such a what's really disappointing is sequels of good movies that are dumb. You
Yeah.
know, that's really disappointing. Like recently, this is not that recent anymore, but Prometheus, the
Yes.
aliens, one of the Million Aliens sequels,
Oh God.
was so dumb. And that was
So
the thing. It should have been good.
yeah, yeah, it that's an absolute failure. I mean, really, I think the only reason once the movie opened, the only reason why people went to see it was for the shock value of that scene. And you know which scene I'm talking about.
In Prometheus?
Yes.
I'm not sure which
It's a self-surgery scene.
oh God, I don't even. Oh yeah. Okay.
I don't want to gross anybody out.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to describe it in great detail, but there's a scene where somebody performs surgery on themselves, and
How did I forget
it's
that?
not pleasant at all. But I just kind of think once people realize how stupid that movie was, that was the only reason, to go see it.
Yeah. What really struck me about it is here's this story that's, the basis of the story is this idea that you've got a ship full of the best and brightest, the
Right.
smartest people. And that it's a thing where you have people making stupid mistakes in horror, sci-fi horror, mainly the horror genre, but where people are idiots and they just act like idiots. There's that Geico commercial making fun of that. And this movie has that bad.
Oh yeah.
Smartest people in the world, and everything they choose to do is as dumb as it could possibly be.
Yeah.
And it's so bad it totally broke me out of the movie. I was
Yeah.
just like, these people are stupid. The hell with all this.
Yeah,
And
it's always the worst possible choice you can make in that situation.
Mhm.
That movie definitely it suffers from that problem.
And another sequel that was just powerfully disappointing that just crashed into dumb and not even thought through was the sequel to Highlander. You ever see Highlander? I know they did a whole bunch and they did some TV, but Highlander 2
I did not.
brought back Sean Connery with, I don't know what their excuse was because he had died, but he was Sean Connery and he was really a big part of the first one, which was a terrific movie with a big following. It's got it's sort of culty and it's got a lot of things to recommend it, but I was definitely among those who loved it. But when a sequel just breaks something, breaks the series, it
Yeah.
almost broke the original. It was so dumb. And I say it was just bad, but it was stupid. It was the dumb that is insulting of the intelligence.
Yeah,
That's
that's the worst. That is the worst kind of science fiction. It's, sci-fi fans are pretty smart out there. They're pretty savvy about things.
Mhm.
And when you're making content which is just bad and obviously stupid, you deserve all the scorn that fans can give you.
yeah, yeah.
I
And I
mean,
mean,
you just deserve it. I mean, and a lot of this bad is just done for money.
it's just something to get out quick. It's just
Yep.
hack writers. They need to make a quick buck. Um, and yeah.
Hack studio heads who are looking to make lots of quick bucks.
Mhm. And again, this isn't the stuff that is self-consciously dumb. That's
No,
making
no, no,
money
no, no,
off
no,
of
no,
it.
no.
Like
This,
the Sharknado,
yes, the
universe.
parodies, the satire.
Yeah, or
Yeah,
even just not even, yeah, almost parody, but just like, um, I don't know, what was the trying to think of my favorite one of the Sharknado things. It was something like Mega Shark versus Giant Squid or something like that.
yeah, Megalodon versus yes, yeah, yeah.
And there's stuff like that in the, Piranha 3 Double D or whatever it was. I mean,
Oh,
that's
that
that's
that
that's
Piranha 2 Double D, that's a great movie. It's dumb as a box of rocks,
Mhm.
but it's really fun. It's really entertaining. It makes fun of itself. It makes fun of other genres and other movies. That is, well, what I would call smart dumb.
Mhm.
That was in the line of Airplane.
Mhm. Yeah. Speaking of air stuff in the line of Airplane, do you remember the series Quark?
Hang on.
Yeah. Richard Benjamin in the 70s. In that
Yeah, no, I don't remember it, but I mean, I remember the name of it, but I don't remember what it was like.
it was incredibly intentionally bad. Incredibly. When I was a kid, I loved it. Looking back on it, it was seriously homophobic, but I had no idea about that then. And, a lot of that sort of oblivious inappropriateness back in the 70s.
Yeah, yeah. It's just interesting. It's fascinating to me how far we've come in that too,
Hmm.
um, because just in general, social kinds of norms have changed radically in the last
Hmm.
30 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I will say, for the most part, in a positive way.
Yeah, for sure. Although we may be on the big backslide here now.
Yeah, we'll
Uh,
see. We'll see.
but then there was the stuff that was not just that was beyond that, right? That it was we knew at the time it was gross, but they wrote it anyway. Like there's a series of books and they went on. My God, I think there were like 30 some. The Gore books. You ever remember the Gore books?
No, I did not. I didn't read those.
Yeah, what's his name? Norman was the writer, I think. And for some reason, I read the first four. I don't know why. I think they were quick and easy. Oh, I do know why. Right. A friend of mine gave me all of them because his
He's spreading the trash toward you.
yeah, yeah. His brother, who you might know, who will remain unmentioned because he's back in Berea, Kentucky, where we both spent a lot of time, where I'm from. Um, they had a house fire and I got all these books, like 20 something. And I just started reading. They were easy reads and they were fantasy setting, but a sort of sci-fi story because what was behind the crazy fantasy world was aliens. But the thing about these books is that the key to them is all about women learning that to fulfill themselves, they want to be slaves to men. And
Ugh,
I
God, I
mean,
hate that
it
crap.
was crazy. And I remember, like years later, I saw on a bookshelf another Gore book, 30 whatever. Huh, I wonder what they're doing now. I wonder if it's still the same. I picked it up off the shelf, opened it up, same thing.
Oh
It's like
no.
it's like all those books were. So those were anyways, I'm off track here. Those are dumb. And it just made
No,
me
you,
think of it
you're not
because
off track at all because
yeah.
I'm going to mention a series of books and then later movies, which are equally as dumb. I'm going to make some people mad here, but I
Oh
don't
good.
care. The Left Behind series.
Oh, you're only gonna make people who let's just say we've got a progressive bent going on this show. I don't think anybody listening would get too mad.
Um, well, first of all, the premise, of course, for those people who don't know about these books and movies, is that the rapture has happened, and all of the people who are righteous have been raptured up to heaven and disappeared. And now you're going to have this giant battle between Jesus and the Antichrist. And you have been left behind. So now, how do you survive? What are you going to do? You know you're eternally damned, but you still have to face this giant. Just horrible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, having said that, we'll get back to how dumb it is. But having said that, there is a genius science fiction show from HBO which takes up this entire premise and does it brilliantly and beautifully and lyrically. Is The Leftovers.
Oh yeah, I was just about to say I don't see how that's possible, but I did see some of that.
The Leftovers. Damon Lindelof, of Lost fame.
Right.
It's his show, and this is a genius show. It is so great. But Left Behind is not this. The original Left Behind movie, as you pointed out to me in a discussion about this previously, has Nick Cage in it.
I know.
An A-list actor, one of the best actors in, Hollywood for his age. And he's in this terrible movie about the damned who were left over after this rapture. Now, one of the things I really hate about this whole series is that there's no basis for any of this theology. Not a traditional biblical basis for it. It's based on two German preachers in the United States, immigrants. Nobody was going to their church. So they invented this idea of the rapture, and this is extremely well documented. They invented this thing they call the rapture to both threaten and attract parishioners. And it's just fundamentally dumb. It's dumb theologically. It's dumb, sensibly. It's dumb in the genre. It's just terrible. Now, after the first movie, they replaced Nick Cage with a D-list actor, Kirk Cameron.
Oh, right. Who is much more appropriate for the role.
Much more appropriate
where
for the
he
role.
comes from and what he's about.
And, he's this devout religious person who I'm sure believed all this stuff.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
It's just terrible stuff. And, if you want to see just how bad science fiction fantasy can be, just watch one of the Kirk Cameron movies. Just one. And I don't know, I bet you won't get through 30 minutes of it. It's just god-awful stuff. I hate it. I really hate it.
All right. Now, I bet you're thinking, because I've got a little list here, too. I'm sure you've got a list going here, prep work here. But let's hear something that, and I've got a couple, too, that, oh, boy, that are going to piss people off. What?
I don't know. I don't have anything off the top of my head. I've got one thing I'd like to talk about more in detail. The movie Barbarella.
Oh, that's dumb, but wasn't it? Did it mean to be dumb?
Yeah, I don't think it meant to be dumb. I don't. I think it was mostly okay. So let's talk about Barbarella.
Sure.
Barbarella comes out. It's a classically bad science fiction film, and I'm trying to remember exactly when it came out. I'm pretty sure I know, but I want to be 1968.
Year of my birth.
Yes. So 1968, Jane Fonda, who's married to the French film director Roger Vadim, who is really kind of a pretty sound film director, pretty well-known film director, pretty, rightfully famous film director. He's married to Jane Fonda, and he makes this science fiction movie about a woman superhero. And she goes on this strange erotic journey. all through space to try to defeat the evil queen, whose name I can't remember. The Black Queen is her name.
I don't remember. It was ages ago.
And it's played by the only woman Mick Jagger and Keith Richards and Brian Jones ever fought over, Anita Pallenberg.
Well,
And it's just remarkably stupid. I mean, look, let's just face it. This is where the band Duran Duran got its name.
oh, right. That's right. Forgot about that.
Yeah, one of the allies Barbarella has in this quest to destroy the Black Queen is a scientist named Duran Duran.
I did know that. God.
And so basically throughout the movie, the only kind of transaction that Barbarella has on this quest is she has to have sex with everyone who helps her. So it's a way to basically just get Roger Vadim's wife looking super sexy and hot in a various number of situations and outfits.
In the free love era.
That's right, definitely in the free love. LSD is legal, psychedelic, drug fueled counterculture.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can piss people off.
Okay, piss them off.
This is going to piss you off too,
Probably.
because it's going to piss everybody off. I'm the only one. One movie I thought was dumb, and again,
Yeah.
really, that's the use of the word, was The Fifth Element. Ooh.
Oh yeah. I think it's pretty dumb too.
Oh, you do.
Oh, I definitely think it's dumb. First of all, I saw it in a theater where you could not hear anything.
Yeah.
It was too loud, and all of the dialogue was heavily distorted.
Well, just the whole idea of she's the fifth element. What does that mean? And then she's just sort of this delicate stereotype of this. I don't know. That director, this whole trip about sort of wafy stereotypical women who are also badasses. He's creating some kind of dream girl fantasy of himself, and she totally was. And I think it.
Well,
Trying
you
to
know
figure out who that.
the opera singer in that movie?
Yeah. Mhm.
That was his girlfriend.
Oh, really?
You know how old? Do you know how old she was when they met?
Oh, Jesus. Do I want to know?
15.
Oh,
They started dating when she was 15,
my God.
which explains the whole Leon thing.
It explains him completely. Oh, well.
I mean, now I have to tell you, he made one of my absolute favorite movies.
You're going to say La Femme Nikita, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that had a lot of the same stuff going on, but it wasn't offensive. It folded in well. It worked.
Well, the big thing about that was she was kind of a badass to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not for the right reasons, but she killed that cop who was sitting right there.
Mm-hmm.
After that. One of the things about that movie is it makes me, it's less true now, but it makes me think about the difference between police powers in the U.S. and police powers in Europe.
Oh,
Because in that movie, when they're robbing the pharmacy, they just bring out a sniper with night vision and kill most of them. Yeah, that's not, American cops don't have that kind of power. Not nearly like that.
yeah.
But anyway, so we can circle back. I'm trying to remember exactly what I said. Not exactly, but I got into talking about the movie where they tried to did a thinly veiled. It's really kind of a love letter to that movie.
Yeah.
But that whole movie was just basically to a movie where Roger Vadim wanted to, create a cinematic OnlyFans for Jane Fonda. So that's what I'm just about to say here.
That's funny. Oh, God. So I guess we're obligated, if we're going to talk about dumb and we're going to talk about sci-fi,
Yeah,
you have to mention Battlefield Earth. Is that?
definitely have to mention Battlefield Earth.
Yeah, I
Another
tried
one of those-
watching that once just so that I can say that I did.
20 minutes. That's about it.
I don't know that I got that far. That's, of course, based on the book, but it's John Travolta's love letter to L. Ron Hubbard,
Yep.
and it's awful. It's embarrassing.
Oh,
Um,
it's garbage.
yeah, I mean, John Travolta, the big Scientologist, wanted to get this up there, and so the hell with that. But even I felt sorry for watching it. It was his movie. It
Yeah.
was his fault. It was his baby, and he put himself in this starring role as the big bad guy, and I felt bad for him.
Well, yeah, but it goes back to the old adage that uh, the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Yeah,
He really thought he had this really great idea for a you know a science fiction movie, and he thought it was great because, well, look at how much he had invested in himself,
hmm
and so it couldn't possibly be that he was wrong about about the usefulness or the validity of the book, or the just how good the book was, because he believed in it so much. And actually, I think this gets back into what I was talking about earlier, where even A-list actors put on some blinders and jump into a project that they think is going to be spectacular, but then it's bad,
hmm
really bad. So they kind of convince themselves that what they're going to say is good because they have to.
hmm
But anyway, so they have to convince themselves that this is good because there's just so much of a sunk cost into it, and this is what
Yeah.
I forget what behavioral economists call this, but you're willing to be less, you're willing to accept more risk because you have invested so much time, effort, money, energy, reputation into a project. And this is, I think, how we get to a lot of these terrible, bad, dumb science fiction things.
Yeah, boy. The investment of time, reputation, what doesn't that make, who does that make you think of in this last year? I mean, I want to say poor Francis Ford Coppola, but I'm still mad at him for all the nasty things he said about superhero movies. So I'm not.
Yeah, no kidding.
But
Um,
Megalopolis, did you see I did not see Megalopolis because I was warned away.
I
But
I
the
I knew it
description,
wasn't going to be any good.
oh,
Um,
descriptions, it sounds terrible. I was afraid of it. I mean, some movies
yeah,
that sound bad, I want to go see. So it's because so I can say I did. But that one sounded terrible.
no, no.
And, talk about an investment of resources and reputation, just like you're saying. And that's the poster child for that kind of thing.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. Um, and really, it's a vanity project, I think.
Yeah.
I think in the end, that's a vanity project for him. That's what he wanted to do, and he had the money and the power to do it. And so it was going to get done, whether it was good or not.
Yeah.
So he had these kind of blinders on and couldn't see around it.
Yeah.
So I think it's funny. I think I've told this story before. A friend of mine from high school worked at Skywalker Ranch for a long time.
Mhm.
And um, so Ben Burt, who had worked with Lucas for a long time, uh, all the way back to the original Star Wars days, he's the guy who found the sound for the blaster
Oh,
uh,
that's the banging on the
on
uh,
the cable.
on the cable. Yeah, I remember there was a whole documentary about that when I was a kid, and that stuck in my head.
He's the guy who found it. So
That's
Ben
great.
Burt, longtime collaborator with George Lucas, and he said my friend said, whenever George Lucas got too full of himself,
Mhm.
he would say, "Oh, George, hey, do you remember Howard the Duck?"
There you go. There's one. That's
And so
perfect.
I think that's going to be yeah, Howard the Duck is definitely terrible.
Yeah.
The theatrical release. I'll tell you the Howard the Duck I like, and that's Seth Green in the
Oh yeah, of
MCU.
course. Absolutely. That was an inspired choice.
Yeah, he inhabits that character. I mean, he is great as Howard the Duck.
Well, I guess we could go on forever on this. We should probably, maybe Howard the Duck is a good one to leave it on. Oh, no, there's one stupid thing I want to mention. One more stupid. And I
Okay.
know there's a lot of good things about this movie. So a lot of the experience of watching the movie was good, and that's M. Night Shyamalan's Signs. Do you remember Signs?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So why would aliens that, melt like the Wicked Witch of the West choose to come take over a planet that's primarily water, where it falls from the sky, where it's laying in pools all over the place? What the hell?
Where it falls from the sky relatively unpredictably.
Yeah. So that was just dumb. What the hell? What the hell? Anyway,
Yeah.
I'm gonna rant if I see anything more.
Well, no, I'll tell you what that is. That is two things, I think. But see, this is turning into a discussion of social psychology more than anything. Um, that is one, investment, time, and energy in a project. And two, that willing suspensions of disbelief. But this one is based on your own idea of your reputation.
I'm not
See,
sure
he's
I follow.
hunting for something that could repeat the success of The Sixth Sense, which,
Sure.
by the way, for the record, I figured out the moment they shot that guy.
I figured out pretty early too. I think, yeah.
The moment they shot him, I was like, all right, we're done. Movie's over. But the
I didn't figure
great
it
thing
out that
about
early, but
that movie was this. Even though I knew it from the very beginning, it was still a great movie.
yeah, it was.
And I think that's kind of what he was hoping he could replicate.
Yeah,
He was hoping that there would be this big twist at the end, and then nobody would pay any attention to any of the other inconsistencies in the movie.
yeah, yeah. It's those his movies often just have a feel of it. They're really an attempt to not just make a movie or have a artistic inspiration, but to show audiences how good he is. There's a
Yeah.
vanity feel to those movies that's it's unfortunate. It drags them down. Even the ones I enjoy that are pretty good.
Did you see one of his most recent ones called The Knock at the Cabin Door?
No. Oh yeah, yeah. No, I didn't see it. I wanted to go see it because I think it got decent reviews. Was that any good?
It's really good, and I'll tell you, you'll be shocked at who makes that movie so good, and that's Dave Bautista.
Oh, I'm not even a little shocked. I knew you were going to say that. He's awesome.
He is no, listen, he is a terrific actor, and he's only going to get better.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say that is because, in all of his previous roles, he's either the heavy or he's a really dumb, brutish, uh, lunk-headed character, maybe with a heart of gold.
Mhm.
And so over the top works great in both of those roles.
Mhm.
By the way, if you want to see Dave Bautista at some of his best, watch the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special.
Oh yeah, I love the holiday special.
Have you seen it?
Oh yeah.
I love that thing.
I
It
was
is,
waiting eagerly for it to come out.
yeah, it is so great too. James Gunn kills it in this, and it's a good thing because I saw the Superman trailer and meh. But anyway, uh, in order to play his role the right way in this movie, Batista has to be super restrained,
Hmm. Okay.
and he pulls it off beautifully.
That's great.
He's
Oh,
going
I
to be
want to see this.
a really great actor, and I have some empirical evidence, not based on what he said or what he does. Denis Villeneuve kept telling Dave Bautista on the set of Dune, "You are a way better actor than you know."
Hmm.
And
Great.
Villeneuve kind of has a little bit of a talent for finding good actors.
Mm. Well, that's a great story, actually. Good on him. Good on
Yeah,
him.
I really like the guy, and he's incredibly humble.
Mm.
The guy really is. He's the real deal. This is not some kind of crazy. I'll give you an example. People think he's going to be this big mega conservative.
Hmm.
I saw an interview with him. He said, "How can I be conservative? My mom's a lesbian." He said, "Anybody who thinks I'm conservative because I played this big macho wrestler, they're crazy. I've seen the struggles my mother has."
Mm,
And so he's very supportive of the
that's good.
LGBTQ community. He really
Yeah,
is.
he's the kind of guy if you find the right role for him, I think you get a knock it out of the park for sure.
Yeah, and if you haven't seen Knock at the Cabin Door for any of our audience, go see it. It's a really good movie. It is really good. It kind of is about 75% as good as The Sixth Sense.
Hmm.
And, given the quality of The Sixth Sense, that's not small praise. It's a good movie,
Yeah.
but it wouldn't be the same movie without Batista.
Well, what do you think? Is it like, having, dark gloom and everything, but then bringing the audience out and ending on a happy note?
No,
Should we go out on this is an actually good movie and end on a on a
this,
upper here?
this this is a movie that could have been really dumb,
Hmm.
especially because, as you said, Shyamalan, he's always constantly striving to show you how good he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he doesn't have to do that here.
Mhm.
He really doesn't have to do that here.
Mhm.
The plot's restrained, the acting and the most important characters restrained. There are some over the top pieces to it, but and it's not super twisty. It's not.
Mhm.
It tells a good story. Uh, it tells a story that is a little confusing at first, but then eventually becomes really clear.
Uh-huh.
This could have been really stupid. We could have been talking about this the way we just talked about Coppola's science fiction
Mhm.
epic, but we're not. It's pretty good.
Well, pretension is not pretension if you're actually delivering, right?
Yeah, I mean, he delivers in this movie,
Mhm.
and I don't want anybody to think it's in like the top, 50 science fiction movies of all time. But if you went to the theater and paid full price for this movie, which I did, you got your money's worth.
That's good. That's good.
So not everything in science fiction is bad. There are some things which could be in epically, generationally bad that turn out pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So don't give up hope.
That's right. Don't give up. There's a lot of dumb out there, but it's
Oof.
not all dumb. And some
Nope.
of the dumb is a blast. We didn't even get into things like Armageddon,
You know,
but
for as dumb a movie as The Fifth Element is,
mhm,
it's still got plenty to say about it.
that's
But the
that's
the
true. I should be
dumbest
fair.
the dumbest thing for me is Chris Tucker. Oh,
He's annoying.
he's annoying and he's dumb in that movie. But you should. One of the things we talked about the director. One of the things you should know is he is a crazy comic book fan,
Oh, well, that's good.
French
That's,
comic books. And a lot of his movies are based on the work of a French comic book artist, which I cannot remember. He made a
Mobius?
movie it's a French movie called Subway, which is great.
It's not Mobius you're talking about, is it?
No, no, I'm talking about the film director.
Oh, I thought you meant the artist that was inspiring him. Okay.
No, it's not Mobius. No, there's another one.
Yeah, I feel like there's somebody I
I
should.
can't think of his name,
Hmm.
but he's arguably the most famous.
Hmm.
Might be Jean-Jacques Sampé. It might be him. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. But if you're into American comics and you've never looked at French comic books, find some. I don't care how you find them. The French are great at comics. They
I am
really are.
woefully uneducated in that regard, so I will do that.
Well, I lived a year in Switzerland, and that's where I found them. So, and if you think, well, just go look at them. Just find some French comic books and read them. They are killer. They make really great comic books.
Cool. All right, I'll do that. All right, folks.
Um,
I think we've taken a
yep.
lot of your time here. We could go on forever because there's a lot of dumb in the world. But we'll be back next time around with maybe a little less dumb. Maybe, well, I don't know. Dumb is so much. We'll figure it out. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But yeah, everybody, thanks for listening.
Yes, thank you. And as the Packard would say, you think we are not smart. We are smart.
God. Yeah, we'll end that. We'll end on the Packard note. All right. Take care, folks. Our theme music is by Christopher Piatek.